Folks, welcome back. My name is Rudy. You're watching Alpha Investments, and the funny thing is, a sealed box of Gym Challenge First Edition Pokemon. When I bought this box for $400, I had buyer's remorse for probably at least 6 months because I was like, what, $400 for who's gonna want Gym Challenge? Isn't that kind of a weird purchase, And yet here we are in 2025, and what do we see in Pokemon? We see single card buyouts of modern Pokemon cards. So think about what I just said. For those of you who've been around a long time, Rudy's been on YouTube for 10 years. You guys know 7 years ago, between the era of 2017 2018, I stood in front of this bookcase and probably made 50 to 100 YouTube videos discussing the Magic the Gathering reserve list buyouts of single cards. That was one of the things that really blew up this channel in the early days. And of course, the internet and Reddit and Discord, social media, leaned into that, and all these different things happened, and there's a lot of history there. But I never thought I'd see the day in 2025 where vintage Magic is like useless. Nobody cares. And yet, all the buyouts are modern Pokemon singles. Like, I get patrons and you guys send me messages. Rudy, what do you think of this Pokemon, this buyout of this single card from Lost Origins and Sword and Sealed era? What do you think of this buyout, Rudy, of this card from Chilling Reign? What do you think of this buyout from Battle Styles? Do you think this is the next target, Rudy? What do you think about the base set? What do you think about, it's wild to see. It's almost like the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's like I feel like I'm in the Back to the Future, and I'm literally went in the DeLorean, and I'm sitting at the dinner table, and that the TV show comes on, and I'm like, hey, I've seen this before, and everybody at the table's looking at me and saying, how can you have seen this before, Rudy? This is new. This is a new episode. Like, I feel it's like that deja vu weird thing, and that's what's happening. That's what's happening. And the Pokemon world is very obsessed with this new single card buyout. And the thing that concerns me about some of these things is that I'm so worried what is going to happen to Pokemon if we have a market shift or a bear market. Because unlike vintage Magic, which is dead, I guess, by all means, according to everybody, if you've ever looked at population reports of how many people have graded, I don't even know, a Beta Mox or an Unlimited Black Lotus, I mean, how many are graded? A couple hundred? Maybe 300 or 400? Depends on what card you look at, what's set, right? But then I had a patron go, Rudy, have you ever looked at the population reports of some of these modern Pokemon cards with like PSA, Beckett? Just go across, just look at the population reports. I said, okay. And I started looking and went, does that say 25,000 PSA 10s? Does that say 30,000 PSA 10s? Does that say 21,500 PSA 10s? 50,000 PSA not? Like, there's some really big numbers, and it reinforces how much and how many and how sloshy some of these single cards are that are being bought out or attempted to be bought out. Folks, that's like, I look at what's going on with vintage Magic, and I know this isn't a very good comparison, but my brain does it anyways. And humor me, go along with this with me. Just hold my hand. Let's frolic in Central Park. Let's prancer size. Come on, you got play ball with me. And I'm like, I look at the bear market of vintage Arabian Nights, Rudy's favorite playground, and I'm like, how many Library of Alexandrias are graded? What, 1,000 of them? 500 of them? If you add up all the grading companies? And then I go, wow. And there's a new modern Pokemon cards being graded that have only been out for 12, 24, 36 months. And there's over 100,000 copies graded in 24 months. What happens if that market cools off? What happens to these 100,000 slabs that I assure you there are stores, dealers, and investors who have stacks of 10, 20, 50, or hundreds of copies? Like, what happens? What happens if you have a repricing on the downside? Like, that stuff just, it makes me really uneasy because the data on that is so, like, I know comparing Pokemon to Magic is a very, it doesn't line up well. It's like apples to oranges. But there are just certain metrics, like, how much was printed? What's the supply? Okay, demand is really high, but how many are out there? How many were printed? How many are graded? How many 10s? How many 9s? How many raw ones? And just some of these things are really, it's scary. And we talk about this all the time. And, Pokemon bull market can easily continue for another 1 year, 2 years. It could continue for 5, 10 years. We don't know. Nobody knows. We just spin a needle on the twister map and we can pick something. But, this is a strange thing because in 2025, I look at all this stuff going on. And I don't think I've ever heard a market so strong. Yet everybody is always afraid. Not afraid. Everybody's talking about the crash, the bubble popping. But I've never seen a market so strong where the entire internet is people filled with conversations about crashes. Like in 2021, with the COVID era, the world's ending. If you have a Black Lotus or some sort of Pikachu illustrator, you got to get rid of your collectibles because you can't clean the COVID virus off your cardboard with bleach. And what do? We're all gonna And I look at this market, which is stronger and healthier than COVID era, and yet everyone is either it's the greatest bubble of all time. When is it going to crash? Rudy, I'm sitting it out. It's too much. And then you start digging deeper. It was like the Magic Collector Box video. I don't know if that one's live or not. But in Pokemon, how is a box of Chilling Rain $400? And yet the newest Pokemon release, Destined Rivals, is $350. Like, there are definitely either the newest set is overpriced or the set from 3-4 years ago is severely underpriced. That's where you get into that argument. And then, of course, you get into the next thing. Well, Rudy, what's the best set to buy? Which one do I pick? Which one? Nobody knows. People who say, what set should I buy? What's the best thing? People who are thinking like that, I can tell you haven't been in this industry a long time. I can tell you're not going to make it in this industry long term. And I can tell you have no business throwing money at this. Because that's like going to Wall Street and knocking on the front door of the New York Stock Exchange saying, hey, what's the best stock to buy? What equity is the best? Like, that's not how the world works, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So, I just wanted to kind of have this conversation with you all because the modern Pokemon singles buyouts is the most weird deja vu thing to me I've seen in a long time. Number two, when I look at what's going on with Magic the Gathering collector boxes and the obsession with Avatar, Final Fantasy, and of course, the new Spider-Man, I'm not saying they're not going to go up, because I have said that. I'm not saying to shill and pump and dump you all, they're going to go up. But in reality, from a risk-reward standpoint, you should probably stand down. You should probably back away from the Final Fantasy, from the Spider-Man, and from the Avatar right now. Let's assume Spider-Man and Avatar are just a $1,000 box. Let's assume Final Fantasy's $1,500. Just make even numbers for the video. I still think buying Adventures Forgotten Realm from 3 years ago for $220 is way more attractive. Buy an Infinity collector box for $300. I'm like, wait a minute. So a Final Fantasy box is $1,500? I can buy almost a case of Infinity collectors? I can get 6 of those for the same price as one Final Fantasy? Hang on. I can get a whole case of Adventures Forgotten Realm collectors and have a couple $100 left over versus one Final Fantasy or one, Spider-Man. Like, put it in perspective and be careful. Take the emotion out of it and just start looking at these different opportunities. And again, by the time you watch this video, some of this stuff may already be changing. I told you guys for the longest time when we went through all these collector boxes, a lot of these things, the Icorias, the Brothers War, the March of the Machine, the Phyrexia, the Throne, the Core, a lot of these things have already moved. Okay? We were talking about all the, most of these things have doubled from their lows, but they still have a lot of runway. But then you go back to Pokemon. And I'm like, Battle Styles is still $250? Really? Really? A case of Battle Styles is like $2,000 or less? Really? And you look at other things like, okay, wait, how much is, Brilliant Stars? Astral Radiance? Ooh. Lost Origins? Is that over 1,000 yet? No? Why not? Like, you look at the newest set. Look at Journey Together. The worst memed upon set. It's garbage. It's the one that's going to collapse. And everybody just bashed it. I think it was like Journey Together was like 270 at the peak at release. I think I sold mine to patrons for like 225. And then it dipped to like 199. And now, isn't it back to like 250 or 300 or something? Like, you look at these situations and I'm like, yeah, I think I'd rather buy Scarlet Violet base for $200 or Paradox Rift, which is long gone, for $200. Why? Like, there's just, it's interesting to see how emotionally driven people are, how they pile into certain things. And then when it's not cool or chatted about online, how they avoid those, because that's not where the hype and the chatter is. The mindset of human behavior is a fascinating, weird little, just, it's a weird machine, man. And like I said, I had to bring up this because the modern single card Pokemon market, and I know if you guys are new to this channel, I don't play in that market. I don't collect, I don't invest in any single Pokemon cards. The only Pokemon I have is sealed product. All the way from back in the day to an old first edition base set type box of some language that's not English, all the way to, base set 2, all the way to Team Rockets, all the way to base set Unlimited, all the way, I don't do the single cards. And the same reason I tell you all, I love collector boxes. I love Silver and Bronze Age sealed Magic boxes. But I've told everybody for 10 years, do not invest or collect modern Magic the Gathering single cards. Because Wizards will destroy all the value. They have no respect for it. But the sealed product is the basket, the mutual fund version of those single cards. And that's a different vehicle. That's a different behavior. That's a different type of item. I do consider sealed product an investable kind of asset class that is to be combined with a portfolio of other classes. I've said that for 10 years. I still believe that. If you're big into bonds and stocks and you have cash put aside, you have a house or a rental property, or you collect comic books or artwork, having sealed product in Magic or in Pokemon or whatever is a great diversification piece to all these different categories. It works out great because it doesn't move in correlation with a lot of these other things. Real estate market could skyrocket or crash. If I log in and all the prices on Zillow for an entire neighborhood go up 10%, that's not going to affect the Pokemon box. If foreclosures in real estate and everything starts going bad, which is probably a sign of bad economy, which could affect it, but overall, a house swing on the real estate market will not move the sealed box price of Gym Challenge. There's no correlation to that. So, this is one of these things where there's still a lot of skin in the game here. There's still a long runway of this bull market. But I think we're past the point where the easy money's been made. Because the market has recalibrated, repriced everything. There are no new Pokemon boxes coming out for $100, $120, which again, they never should have been. I've said that for 10 years. Pokemon boxes should have never been $99 a box. Well, and, for the longest time, they were. And everybody would just bash it, But that's human, that's herd mentality. That's human behavior. Everybody wants what's rare and desirable. We've talked about that. The moment that you produce a card game and no one online is angry about scalping and pricing, that's the moment you fucked up. Because that's the moment you printed too many boxes. That's the moment you printed one too many boxes. And guess what? That market's about to fall on you. It's Jenga. When you hit one too many and that tower gets too tall, it's going to damage the structural integrity of the whole thing. And I think people lose sight that collectibility in price increases and difficulty to acquire is part of the collectible card game world. It is supposed to be collectible. It is supposed to have that thing in your brain that makes you kind of scan the internet. Oh, Where's this box? Oh God, I can't find Spider-Man. Oh God, Rudy, can you give me Rudy, that's part of the trigger and the psychological effect that is supposed to be there. You are supposed to feel that way. That is the design of the card world. It's been this way forever. When Magic released Ice Age and Revise and 4th edition, I remember in that era, 95, when they printed to Oblivion, I was still a wee little one, and I remember running into the store with my $5 to buy 2 packs of Ice Age. And I remember opening it just before I even got to the car. I'm walking out the building, and I'm going crazy looking at the cards. Why? Even if I got nothing. Just that psychological of what's my rare card? What is this? I gotta check the Inquest and the Scribe magazine. What's the magazine say the card's worth? It was an entire culture. It was a whole world you would be part of. And I think today, the entire scalper, internet, negative clickbait, this whole mentality of recording people in stores and look at this bad, it's really distorted the view of how things should be. Maybe not, maybe a little nicer. Everybody should be more respectful, but that is how, at the end of the day, folks, all of these things, they are little packs of cards with randomized cards inside the wrapper. The company creates a set of cards, makes some of the cards more rare, then makes you chase after those rare cards. And they randomize them and make the good ones tougher to get on purpose. Like, this is not like this revolutionary thing. Baseball cards, comic cards in the 90s, this has been this way forever. And I feel the new young generation is just maybe not aware that this has been going on for a really long time, but it feels different because of the instant speed of the internet. So, conclusion of this Rudy rant today, I don't think much has changed. What has changed is not the cards and the packs and the pricing and the scalping and the emotion and the print runs and what's changed is we all have supercomputers on our phone. We all have the ability to record everything around us. Everything shares, spreads, moves so fast. It makes it feel different when it's not. I assure you all, 20 years ago, before social media, when we all had our flip razor phones with cameras that had 1 pixel, guess what? People were going to electronics boutique, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and they were buying all the packs of cards. They were selling them, they were flipping them, they were trading them with a friend. This has been going on forever. I remember Pogs and Beanie Babies of the 90s. This is nothing new. Baseball cards of the 80s. This stuff is not that special. It just is what it is. But anyways, folks, I'm done ranting and raving with you guys. I just wanted to share everything that I don't recommend anything to do with Pokemon single cards. Because I know it's safer than modern Magic singles because the way the print runs and reprinting is Wizards versus Pokemon. But I'm telling you, on a long-term perspective, population reports that have 50 to 100,000 slabs on cards that are a couple years old is disturbing to me. That's what I'm getting at. It is fucking disturbing to me. That's just engraded, not including left and sealed and raw people's binders and collections. That makes me really uneasy because that's a lot of supply that won't be able to be absorbed in a bear market. So that's interesting. Past that, I think I'm just going to leave it there. Have a great day.